Good morning, traders. This is Chris Buss with Traders Profit Compass with a morning look at markets for Thursday, September 10th. Okay, we'll start out as we always do, looking at the indexes and then move on to the FAANG names, the market-leading FAANG names, which I think still kind of control what's going on here. So we've got to remain focused on the big market leading cap stocks. Here on SPY, if you'll recall, we had been short. We covered those shorts. What was that? Tuesday. We had anticipated a bounce. We got the bounce. We filled the gap. And then we got the final half-hour rug pull. Now, some of you probably closed out your longs and got either out to the sidelines or had gotten short. This scenario and this bar, I mean, if there was how you would plan it, how you would want to see it with our strategy, this is what it looks like. We got the bounce, we got the technical move to fill the gap, moved right up to this 38% fib retracement level and failed right there. So today, for our plan to continue along, the key is 338. If price breaks below 338, I think we come down. I don't think this gap support will be substantial at that point, and I think we fill this gap to go down for, at a minimum, a back touch of the prior low. I have no idea if that prior low would break, but if it did, we've got our natural targets down here at 331 for the first gap and let's call it 328 for the second gap. Now, I want you to remember on SPY, 331 is the 50-day exponential moving average on the daily chart, and that will provide some support. So kind of be ready there and not be surprised if the top level of this gap were to hold, because that's essentially the 50 EMA. So that's the bear case. I mean, if you're short, obviously that's what you want to happen. Let's look at the bull case. If they come down to this 338 and it holds, we could get a bounce back up, back through 342, and you'd be looking for a move between 345 and 349, something like that. So really, I view today's key as 338. Does it hold or does it break? And if you're an active trader and you're short and you see that this 338 is holding, there's no problem abandoning your short position and going back long if you think that's going to hold and we get a surge back up towards the top. That's entirely possible. So, but as far as a technical setup for what we were looking for, this is exactly what we were looking for. Now we need to see today, are we going to get the follow through to the downside? Moving on to the Qs. The picture is a little bit compressed here just because of the scaling. But again, this is what we wanted to see. If you pull up the Qs and look at a 5-minute chart, you will see a double top right here near 280 with some significant bearish divergent on the second peak. And that's what you want to see on a double top setup, where the second peak is at much lower momentum and relative strength than the first peak. That means a lot of energy was spent trying to get up to that level, and then it just couldn't go beyond it, so then it fell back. So for me today, I'm short against 280. Anything above 280, I'm out. So my hope is this 277.50 breaks, and then we come down and break 275. For me, 275 is the key. Below, I think it's almost a foregone conclusion that we would go down to at least test 270. If it holds, there's, a decent probability that they bounce it, recapture 277.50, and move their way back up towards the rest of this unfilled gap up to 283. So, for me, active trading during the day. If they break 277.50 and they come down and they hold 275 and then go up to recapture 277.50, I would exit my shorts. Because remember, we said anytime you recapture a level from below, it's bullish. I would take that as a signal that they couldn't break it and now they're going to go up higher. That may be a point to go long if you didn't get long at 275 when you thought it was going to hold. But I'm still holding out hope for a back test of 270. That's how I'm set up. That's, I always root for my setup. Even though it may not pan out, I'm rooting for a touch of 270. And remember, that's the 50 EMA on the daily. And I think I mentioned it yesterday in the morning note. If price were to break 270, there are a lot of algorithms, a lot of pro money that by mandate, they have to get out on a break below the 50. So you might see a lot of programs selling if this 270 were to break. So be ready for that. I still think there's a moment out there where the dipsters will say, this isn't working anymore. And I don't know if that's now or in the future or when that might happen. But this may be a situation where, 3 days of selling, buy the dip because it always works. But oh my God, now it doesn't work. And we've all got to get out. So trying to get into the psychology of the masses out there and try to stay on the right side of it. IWM, I remain fairly bearish. It hasn't done anything in a long time. It's on a sell signal. It came up and filled its gap, was rejected. So I would be looking to fade bounces. Anything above 155 kind of kills that idea and takes the chart either neutral to bullish. I don't think that's going to happen unless SPY and QQQ are heading higher. But the real line here for, say, longer term position traders is if it breaks 150. I think you're going to see a fast move down to 147.50 and possibly 145. And that'll probably be in line with SPY and QQQ making down moves. So I think this one is going along for the ride right now. It'll probably do what SPY and the Qs are doing. So, but there's still money to be made here, and if you're dialed into these levels, by all means, trade it. We talked about semiconductors yesterday. They had a nice little day, nice bounce. I've got 162.50 alarmed for a potential breakdown. I think you'd see a fast move towards 150 if things started rolling downhill. We are on a sell signal on a break of this rising wedge, trading right around the 50 EMA. So I'm not involved in this one right now. Let's go through FAANG. Facebook, underperformer yesterday. I mean, look at how these levels worked, guys. Right up to 278.75. Made 2 or 3 tries there. Was rejected each time and closed down here at 273.20. If things are strong today and it moves into the gap, I mean, you can buy that for a gap fill. If price loses this 273.20, probably going to come down here to test and probably fill this gap. Down here at 260, that would definitely be a place where I would cover any shorts. That aligns well with an uptrend line in the 50 EMA on the daily chart. I wouldn't want to shoot against Facebook right at 260 because I think you'll be seeing some dip buyers there, and I think they'll at least try to bounce it back up. So if you're lucky enough or good enough to take it, down 12 points, I'd be covering there and stepping to the sidelines, possibly even positioning for a bounce. Apple, again, weak. I mean, it had a nice day, but it did not enter the gap. It did not fill the gap and was rejected on multiple tries to enter the gap. So I view that, as relatively weak. You would expect to be able to get that gap fill. It may do that today. It may not. I don't think there's a trade to make right here in no man's land. I would wait for a move either back up to the gap or down to this bottom gap. I think it's at a tough location to try to get an objective trade. I would be using gap support and gap resistance as locations to shoot against if you're an active trader in Apple. Amazon, see here, Amazon had a nice day, got the move off the gap open, and then was able to go ahead and fill its gap, could not break out of it. So today, if you're involved or want to be involved, a break above this 33.90, the top of this gap, would open the door up here to this 33.35 level, which has been a long-standing level of ours. And if it can get through that, it's got a clear shot to 3,400. So if things get bullish, that would be a nice trade to make. Now, if things go the other way, this 32.50 has been a great line for us. If it falls below, you've basically got two $50 levels. You've got a level here at 3,200, and then you've got a level at 3,150. If things start rolling downhill, I would imagine that Amazon would follow suit. And if these levels break, come back down to back test this prior low. Microsoft, again, another nice technical move. Gap open, filled the gap, was rejected, and now back towards the bottom of the gap. If you want to trade this, if it breaks 210, I think you're coming back down to 204, and that's how I would play it. Make sure you get that break and be looking towards the other FAANG names and the Qs, because this could hold here at 210 and you don't want to jump the gun. So 210 is your pivot point. You can be long above or short below. Google, weak here, spent all day just below the gap, right here at 1555. I would have that level in your crosshairs if you want to trade it. If it breaks above and things get bullish, you've got, let's see, you've got $25 to fill that gap. That would be, a nice little trade. If it gets rejected, then I think you're coming back here to test these lows again. So very similar setup to all of them, especially the ones like Apple where it could not fill the gap. Netflix, this was a trade actually we had discussed midday yesterday where it got rejected from 520. That was your prime location to get short. Put in this flag, and we were watching this in the trading room. I didn't trade it, but there were a couple guys that did on this break of 505. They got a quick move down here to 497 or so before the closing candle came back up. So that was a good technical level. That 505 provided a quick trade for the nimble. Now today, if price were to recapture 505, remember, recapturing a key level from below, you could try a long and look for a move back up to 520, or either a rejection here. I haven't seen where it's at in the pre-market, but if it lost yesterday's low, it's going to come back here to 485 and test, and that's a huge level to hold for the bulls. Below that, I'd have to put the pencil on it, but I think you're looking at, $20 lower just for starters. Last chart, Tesla 60-minute. This 370 is your key. A break above, you got a $50 gap fill in play, and that's definitely worth trying to trade. If it rejects, you got $40 of downside to back test the prior low. So Tesla's at a really nice spot. I mean, as far as objective levels, it doesn't have to do much in either direction to kind of set the direction for the day. And if you're wrong either way, you can get out relatively easily without a big loss right there, either a long above 70 or a short against 370. So I think that's a really sharp setup for somebody that wants to trade that. Okay, guys. Well, the stage is set today. We've done all we could. Now it's up to the markets. We've played the initial leg down, I think, pretty well. We closed at an opportune time and went long and captured a nice move yesterday. And now we're positioned for a down move. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Like I said, once the trade is out there, it's up to the markets, and we got to just let it go and react. Honor your stops. If it goes against us, get out, move to the sidelines, or flip bullish if that's what it shows. And let's see how it plays out. This has been Chris Buss with Traders Profit Compass. I hope you liked the content. Hit the like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Also, check out the show notes for links to my content. I'd love to send you stuff every morning right to your inbox to keep you abreast of markets and what I'm seeing and a lot of different trade ideas. Speaking of trade ideas, on the blog, I've posted 4 or 5 ideas for today and in the days ahead. Some setups that look very interesting and compelling. So please check that out. Anyhow, have a good day of trading, and I'll talk to you soon.